to another installment of the Uncool Show. I'm Dylan.
I'm Nathan.
And we are on episode 15 today. Today we are covering The Big Lebowski, a comedy classic, cult comedy classic, maybe one of the most cult-following movies of all time. We'll get into that. But the Jeff Bridges starring, Coen brothers directed and written epic, stony comedy that just continues to grow in appreciation, both personally and critically. This seems to be one of those movies that continues to pick up steam as time goes on, and I love this movie. It's probably my favorite comedy of all time. I think it's the most clever comedy of all time, the smartest, most well-written comedy of all time, at the very least. But yeah, this is a movie that I was late to the jump to. I saw this later in my film nerdery, so to speak. But the moment that I did, it was one of those movies that just immediately clicked with me. And even though it's not like, it might not be the Coens' best made film, it's
you can make an
my
argument.
favorite. It's easily my favorite thing they've ever made.
Top.
I love it in a way that continues to grow, as I spoke on earlier. When did you first see this film? What's your relationship with The Big Lebowski?
This is another one that you strongly recommended I see probably back in high school, I would say. You probably gave me your copy. I watched it, fell in love with it. This is a type of movie, though, where it does have an intense cult following. And as I was beginning to get into our movie nerdery, whatever you want to call it, when I was younger in high school and in middle school, this movie was ever present in, like, it was being referenced in like movie podcasts, other movies, like interviews with actors. Like, this was a big movie for a larger group of people.
Yep.
Not at the time of the release, though. I mean, this was not a successful movie at the box office, and I don't think the studio knew how to really market this movie. But steadily, I'm sure that this was released on VHS at first. This was a big VHS movie, then a big DVD movie, then a big Blu-ray movie, 4K, whatever. It's gotten to the point where it's hard to even call it cult, because its roots in movie culture is centered around its cult following, but it's grown in estimation so much.
It has its own religion.
Right.
It's dudism.
And it's one of those
like a quarter of a million members worldwide.
It's one of those movies where you kind of get like Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, it's an event. Like, people actually go. Like, I think Milwaukee still does Lebowski Fest. I think a lot of cities do.
A lot of cities do. Yep.
And people dress up, go bowl, drink White Russians. You know, it's an event. It's a movie event when this movie is back in the theaters.
Well, we saw a screening of this a few years ago at, I think, just like the Marcus Ridge.
Around the COVID time, yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was like maybe eight to 10 people in there, and everybody knew every line. They weren't like doing the thing, but everybody was just
on the same wavelength with the movie.
Completely, in love with the movie. Again, whenever you get those type of screenings, those are the type of people you're going to come out and watch the movie with. But
before, sorry to interrupt, but one thing that I was just, I noticed was, we were just talking about before we were recording how Dylan and our younger brother Ryan went to go see One Battle After Another. And for the second time for you, first time for Ryan, and you had a really different experience with the crowd, on your second time, as opposed to the first viewing where I think the crowd kind of knew what movie they were getting into. I could see back in 1998, when this was released, a crowd having a similar, like, what is this? Why is, like, maybe not as like laugh out loud funny as it is to you and me and a whole group of people.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a popular type of.
It's very cerebral.
The comedy presented in it isn't like a Kevin Hart, Dwayne the Rock Johnson movie,
or even like a Farrelly brother, like movies at the time, like a Farrelly brothers, like Farley, Jim Carrey, Sandler, Mike Myers. Like, no, it's not that. And the people that are at the forefront in the movie, the actors. Besides, you can make a case for John Goodman and Roseanne.
This was at the peak of Roseanne, and this is what America knew him as. Dan Connors.
So he was really, and obviously you get Buscemi in some comedy.
Yeah.
But Bridges, not known for comedy.
Nope.
Dramatic actor for the better part of his whole career. And I'm sure that people walking into this movie not having, a relationship to these people and preparing for it to be such a funny
Weird.
and very weird, it's kind of almost like sensory experience that the Coens created, they'd maybe be like dumbfounded. But nowadays, that's completely flipped.
Yeah.
I think that, like, going back to what I was saying before, for people like me and you that came to this a little bit later, like, the quotes were out in the open.
Yep.
We knew that, like, everything with the rug. The dude is an iconic
Film
figure.
character.
Yeah. And he represents, kind of the height of movie comedy for the last almost 30 years. And he is truly iconic, and it's an evergreen character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so much part of the not just the comedic zeitgeist, but just film and culture in general. I don't know. You touched on, I don't know how they marketed this. I've never seen an original run trailer for The Big Lebowski.
I haven't either.
I would imagine, because a lot of trailers at that time were just, here are three buddies who like to bowl.
Right.
And who get into a zany, wacky adventure.
Yeah.
And, that's usually how that kind of stuff was marketed. The Coens aren't those type of filmmakers. They're
No.
not those type of writers. The dialogue between Bridges and Goodman, the dude and Walter, is really cerebral, very political, very current events. There's a lot of references to the Gulf conflict with George Bush Sr. and a lot of moments where the dude will take quotes straight from the news when he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Again, the dialogue, I think, is what levels this up a little bit.
Yes.
The Coens are just, they're brilliant people. And I only think so many people could have handled their dialogue in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very strange mix of, you've got Lebowski, you've got the dude who's a smart guy, but he's a loser. He's connected to reality, but he just doesn't really care to participate in it. But he's a smart guy, and he has, things to say. You have Walter, who his dialogue is just completely...
He's very high energy.
Unabashed and crazy and heightened. And then you have Steve Buscemi as Donnie, who has very little dialogue due to Walter constantly cutting him off and putting him down. But three very unique characters whose energies and dialogues really shouldn't mesh that well, but somehow they feel very lived in. They feel like these guys have known each other for 30 years.
Right.
Maybe even longer than that.
Like, whenever they formed their bowling league team is when... Well, and the guys, like you said, there's a lot of, like, internal conflict with, like, the dude is annoyed with Walter, Walter's annoyed with Donnie. The dude's never really annoyed with Donnie, but it's always just this revolving door of, like, intense dialogue.
Tension, conflict.
Yes. But then at the end of a lot of those exchanges and those sequences together, Walter just like, want to go bowling? Let's just go bowling.
Yep.
And that's kind of like their safe place for their relationship. Even
it's
though
like it's also just like their belief system. It's
right.
Like whenever things get too bad, let's not handle that. No. We don't need to handle what we just did. We don't need to handle the tragedy. We don't need to have...
Let's not even talk about it.
Let's not even talk about it.
Yeah.
Ignore it. Have a couple drinks. Have a smoke on the way there. Let's go bowl. It's a very selfish, very egocentric lifestyle that they all live, and but they have each other, and that bond is, I wouldn't say the heart of the movie. I guess I would say Donnie is probably the heart of this movie.
Yeah, even though he's
very limited in it.
Very limited. He kind of like is the glue in a way that holds them together. I mean, you could make a case that the dude and Walter, by the end, they kind of are the heart of the movie.
Yeah.
They kind of have that very like nice exchange when, well, it's a very funny end when, spoilers, but Donnie dies at the end, and they're tasked with, I don't think Donnie has any family. Like, they're basically his family. They have to get his ashes, and Walter wants to spread his ashes at the beach where Donnie loved to surf.
Yep.
And eventually all the ash gets on the dude during Walter's ridiculous speech that ties it into Vietnam and Donnie's personal history. and the dude loses it, and he's like, "What is with you? Like, what is finally kind of like what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, you
Well-
messed up this entire experience."
He's like the driving force of pretty much all the chaos in the movie.
Right.
It's not actually Bunny Lebowski so much as it's Walter.
Mhm.
I guess to preface all this movie has a plot. There's not much plot. It's very simple. The dude is walking into his very crappy apartment, and there are two goons in there who mistake him for another Lebowski.
The titular
the Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski.
And they end up peeing on his rug. And that's what the real issue is.
Mhm.
Because right after that scene, the dude is at the bowling alley with the boys, and he's willing to let it go. He's venting about it, but he's not going to do anything about it, because that's kind of his whole philosophy.
Right.
I'll be upset about it, but live and let live. I'll just, whatever. And it's Walter who is very like, they peed on your rug, dude.
Mhm.
Just making it a bigger issue than it has to be. And that's
Right.
that's his role in the film. That's his role in life, it seems.
He's kind of ready to snap at any moment. Like, and
Oh,
I think he
yeah.
wants the people around him to follow suit.
Yep.
They want to be, well, because Walter's own history, like serving in Vietnam, according to him, like that's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
People have their own theories, but if he actually was, and he's just this angry bystander in the 60s and 70s. But
He seems bored in life,
yes, that's perfect. Yeah.
and he sees this rug incident as the perfect opportunity to get some money.
Yep.
That's really what it is. This guy, the Big Lebowski is a millionaire. He's well known in this community, so to speak, and that is really what it is. You should get some money out of this guy. He should compensate you for your rug.
Yeah.
And that is how the journey starts. It isn't a huge plot point or a huge twist or like a murder investigation or again, the dude was just about to let it go and keep living on life, and Walter is the driving force in this movie, and he continues to be the driving force in the movie.
Mhm.
The dude goes to the Big Lebowski's house, and he meets Brant, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, in one of my favorite roles of his. And the Big Lebowski just immediately clocks him as a loser.
Stoner loser.
No
Doesn't
job.
have a job.
Kicks him out. And so the dude steals a rug instead of, just taking his L and leaving.
Mhm.
And one little tiny misadventure, one little misstep after another continues to snowball the plot of this
Yep.
movie. You meet the Big Lebowski's wife, so to speak, who is a young trophy wife. She has no love for him. She loves the money, loves the lifestyle.
Mhm.
She disappears, and the dude is in a, quote, unique position, unquote, to confirm whether or not the men who peed on his rug had kidnapped Bunny Lebowski.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, the dude, Walter, and Donnie, more the dude and Walter, but Donnie are on this crazy trip to try to find Bunny and find the money, the ransom money for Bunny Lebowski. And
After the botched attempt to deliver the money to
Yeah.
the kidnappers
yeah,
because of Walter.
again, because of Walter.
Because the dude is tasked with, we're giving you this money, we're gonna make the switch.
Yep.
Like, you give the money to the kidnappers, we get Bunny.
Yep.
And Walter
Immediately
jumps into the situation and says, like, we're just gonna take the money.
He's like,
screw the
He
kidnappers.
says, that doesn't work for us.
Right.
Speaking on the dude's behalf,
on-
this doesn't work for us.
Right. And then he
'Cause he
totally
has a
screws it
plan.
up.
Yep.
And then, like you said, like it is a snowball, like it's a chain reaction.
Yeah,
like-
type of movie.
Every mistake means something else later in the movie. It doesn't
Very
get
consequential
yes.
screenwriting, very consequential.
If this happens, then this happens.
Yep.
It's very tight and concise in that way. There aren't a lot of loose ends by the end of the movie, and you have some questions here and there, but
Well, we should say this was based off of Raymond Chandler,
Mhm.
a great novelist back in the day. It wrote The Long Goodbye, which is another
I think a big reference point for this
reference
movie.
point for this film for sure,
Right.
and a movie that we will definitely be covering sometime in the future. but this noir mystery, weird underbelly type of movie is what Chandler's works were primarily based off of. This is just a more comedic version of those.
Heightened and comedic.
Heightened and comedic.
Yeah.
And we won't get too much more into the plot because there's a lot of, again, this movie's been out a long time. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, please go check it out.
Yeah.
But it really is just like this web of mistakes and web of hilarious interactions and moments and weird little one-scene characters who completely pop off the screen for that one or two scenes, and then
the Coens are masters of that.
Yep.
I will say.
Yeah.
They know how to get the best out of the one-scene performer. I think that they're geniuses when it comes to whoever does their casting. I'm sure they have a big part in it.
I believe they do. Yeah.
And going back to the script, this also has something to do with the casting and the whole, formal creation of the movie behind the scenes. Like, there was no ad-libbing in this script. The script, like every single
Rock
dude,
solid. Yep.
every single man, every single whatever,
Curse word.
like the bringing back of phrases, like in the parlance of our times.
Yep. This
the
aggression will not stand.
This aggression will
man.
not stand. All those are repeated again and again and again. And it's not like one of these more modern comedies like an Apatow where guys are riffing the whole time and improvising.
Yeah.
This was like Loctite.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive when watching the movie.
Because it has that kind of improv.
It does have
that feel a little bit.
The dude says "man" like 100 times, and
Yeah.
like it's that kind of movie where the dialogue feels so casual, but
like you definitely know people who speak like the dude.
Absolutely.
Whether they're like loser, stoner, writing check for 69 cent type of people or not. There are those people. What's up, man? How you doing, dog? What you up to, fam? Just like whatever the modern version of that is. And that kind of lends itself to him feeling real.
Yes.
And him being a lived-in loser. I mean, the dude is just wearing a bathrobe when you first meet him in public. He's in a supermarket, opening things and like smelling creamers,
getting creamers for his White Russians.
Yeah. That's
what he's doing.
He's post-dating checks for 69 cents. It's a great character introduction. We kind of skipped over just how brilliantly this is shot. Roger Deakins, who is one of the best cinematographers ever, is known for shooting real deep, dramatic with like low light and beautiful use of natural light. This is most of the time you're inside, either in the dude's crappy apartment or the bowling alley or in a car. And somehow Deakins still manages to make this a very visually appealing movie.
Very visual, very like...
Especially for a comedy. This is a level of panache you just don't usually see.
Very warm looking movie, warm tones, a lot of browns, yellows. When you're in the bowling alley, you're like, I've been in that bowling alley. It even
feels
locally.
like the crappy light, like the crappy fluorescent lighting is very much in.
He captures that atmosphere perfectly. And
there's the old neon signs outside the bowling alley. It does feel very lived in.
I mean, that whole opening, the whole credit sequence, where they're just going from bowler to bowler to bowler, and you're getting like they're cooling their hands on the fan. You're getting a lot of texture, like in the bowling alley itself and on the people. You're like, this feels like we keep saying so lived in. Yeah. And all the characters feel like that. And that's what really draws you to the movie. You're like, I want to hang out with these guys, even though they are just total losers. And
most of the characters in this movie aren't really doing a whole lot.
No.
Maud Lebowski has like a art career that she's very into.
Living off of her allowance.
But she's living off of something,
She's living off of her dad's
trust fund.
Yeah.
The dude hasn't had a job in a long time. His money in the original screenplay, he was an heir to the Rubik's Cube fortune. That's what he had been living off of. Walter owns like a home goods store because you see him.
He comes out of a storefront.
Yes, so
they're about to make the switch.
He's a business owner.
Yeah.
You don't really find out what Donnie is up to.
I imagine Donnie was probably similar to the dude.
But he's working. So I think
maybe he's doing something.
He seems a little more well-adjusted than the dude in terms of...
He's the most well-adjusted out of both of them.
I
Like
would
he's
maybe he's like a bank teller. You know, I
yeah.
wonder. I really that is
They
interesting.
never explore that.
Yeah.
Because Donnie is kind of this anonymous character in that group.
And he's not very. I'm not gonna say stupid, but he's not very.
He's very simple.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Walter is making very intelligent reference to Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov, he thinks he's talking about John Lennon.
Lennon.
These Lennon versus Lennon. You know, I am the walrus. You know, he's a very much a simpleton, but heart of gold. You know.
Yes.
This is genuinely one of my favorite Buscemi roles. I think he's due to the nature of the character and how he's written, he does go underappreciated, and that's by design, of course. I think he's great in this. He does exude a warmth and a certain kindness and genuine concern for the dude and for Walter, even though Walter's not nice to him ever.
He's the most innocent actor in the whole story.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the people are either
that's your name, dude.
like money grubby, or like you have a Walter who's just angry all the time and taking it out on everybody. The dude doesn't do anything and kind of just
floats.
He kind of hovers over the whole movie. And Donnie, he's very simple. He's probably the most well-adjusted, normal of the group. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of the most like relatable character in the movie, because obviously with heightened characters like the dude and Walter, he's gonna feel like that. And like you said, it is by design that he feels so grounded.
And it's a design that works. It really does. I also think we should talk about Sam, the narrator.
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott, thank you. I think he's great in this.
He is really good.
He does some voiceovers throughout the movie, and then he'll randomly just come into frame as like a god concept,
breaks the fourth wall
type of thing. Yeah. Like this is he is kind of he's like floating above everything, watching every.
He's the seer. Like he sees everything.
Yeah.
He's very omniscient in that way, which is really, it's such a funny.
It's a weird choice.
In this kind of Raymond Chandler gumshoe detective noir, you have this man who's coming out of like the 1800s in like a Western.
He's a cowboy.
He's got
the crazy mustache. He's got the 10-gallon hat.
Which doesn't really match. I mean, obviously you could probably make a case for like certain genre trappings matching with the Western archetype that they're putting Sam Elliott in. But it is such a strange choice when it's also just a big juxtaposition. You're putting this guy from like 100 years ago into 1990s Los Angeles.
And it's also like this like manly man. You know, he's
very much so.
Sam Elliott has got this deep, brooding. I mean, he's got one of the cooler voices
ever. One of the
ever.
best voices in
and
Hollywood.
He's got the mustache. He's a cowboy. He's a real man, right? And not in not like a toxic way. He's not like a toxic masculine dude. He knows he's a confident character. He's a confident man, right? He goes to the bar and orders root beer and doesn't blink.
Sarsaparilla.
Get some sarsaparilla.
Yep.
And then you juxtapose that with the dude who is a man, of course. You know, I thought about that scene with the Big Lebowski. What makes a man, Mr. Lebowski? Pair of testicles, you know.
Yeah.
You joke, you know. But that juxtaposition,
you may be right.
That's actually part of this movie. Is like, what is a man? Is the dude a real man? Is Walter a real man? Is Sam Elliott's narrator clearly the Jesus isn't much of a but that's kind of an undertone to this.
Yes.
This is a very male story. Very other than Maud, played by Julianne Moore. You get a little bit of Bunny, who is like she's a child, but you don't really get to see a whole lot of Bunny other than her one scene with
Brant and the dude,
which is great. It's one of the more legendary scenes from the movie. But yeah, just that juxtaposition, because the Sam Elliott narrator doesn't talk to any other character but the dude,
right?
And like that heightened differences between them, a complete slacker loser who doesn't take care of himself, doesn't take pride in himself, or pretty much anything around him, versus a man who does. And I think that's what makes a man. You take pride in yourself and take pride of your responsibilities. That's it. And the dude is kind of a failure in that regard. But that being said, the Sam Elliott he loves the dude.
I was just gonna say he has a deep appreciation for how the dude lives.
Yeah, he does.
I think he has appreciation for his like carefree attitude.
Take it easy.
Take it easy.
You know.
Yep.
I like your style, dude.
Like it feels like he's very, like he wants to be the dude in some way.
Yeah.
You know, he feels kind of like it's an aspiration type. Like,
yeah.
I want to be the dude. I want to be floating in and out of life.
Chill.
Yeah. Nothing bothers me. I just go bowl.
And that being said, this movie does bring the dude in a lot of different places where his emotions are heightened and he gets angry and he gets upset and all those things. But, you know, whenever he's out of his emotion, he wants very, very quickly to try to find a White Russian or roll a J.
Meditate
and get back into it.
Yeah.
Meditate while listening to bowling pins.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like my match from 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. You just hear, which is great.
That is great.
Would Bridges be your MVP of this movie?
It's Goodman. It's definitely Goodman.
Yeah.
It's either Goodman or the Coens. Even though, just going up to Bridges, thinking about it more and watching more of his work, I have such a deep appreciation for Bridges, and I think he's probably like a top 5 actor all time for me. He really might be.
Yeah.
And I think that this was, it kind of marks a transition for Bridges into, he can do the comedy, and obviously it marks his transition into working with the Coens again, and he's amazing in True Grit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like there's before Big Lebowski and there's after Big Lebowski. And I think after Big Lebowski, he's a little bit more experimental with his performances, and I think he goes places that he didn't before. I think he was more of like the prototypical leading man, like the straight man in a lot of his movies. Even though he's in his whole career incredibly charismatic. But just off of that rabbit trail, I think that this is definitely one of my personal favorite performances of his.
Yeah.
But I would have to go Goodman. I think that this is on like the Mount Rushmore of best performances in a Coen brother movie. And, you know, I think everyone has a deep, you know, you feel like you almost know John Goodman in a way. He's like one of America's dads.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You feel like after like,
again, because of Roseanne. He was on people's televisions for decades.
Voices in Monsters Inc. and Emperor's New Groove for younger generation.
Yep.
You know, he shows up here and there, and I think he's one of the more underappreciated character actors.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Of his time. He's never been nominated for an Oscar.
Never, huh? Wow.
If I could go back, I don't know who was nominated for the 1998 Oscars.
For Best Supporting, yeah.
I'm sure he more than deserved it, and he should have probably won. I think Walter is the funniest character in the movie.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And
we've touched on it. Walter is a very complex character.
Very. He's the most complex character in the movie.
Yeah.
And you could tell like the Coen brothers were probably giggling at like the prospect of working with Goodman and giving him this meaty dialogue.
Crazy dialogue, yeah.
And I think his character, you know, it stands a test of time like the dude. And it's the best work that Goodman has given in a movie. You know, he's done a lot of dramatic work and work in television and voice work, but man, he makes me laugh. He might be one of the movie characters that makes me laugh the hardest.
Yeah, Walter Sobchak is, like you touched on, he makes a ton of references to Vietnam. He has a Vietnam obsession. The movie isn't clear on whether or not he actually was in Vietnam or if he served in any meaningful capacity in Vietnam. But he has completely adopted the veteran lifestyle, the veteran mentality. He's always decked out in either his green army jacket or like his tan,
like his cargo vest
from
yeah.
Again, if he served, he got it from over there, and if he didn't, you know, he went to a surplus store and just picked all this crap out. And that's kind of he makes a lot of very blatant statements in anger or statements in rage that if you knew him in public, you would be, oh man,
it crosses a line.
He crosses lines.
Yeah.
He's always screaming profanities in public.
Mm-hmm.
It seems there's a scene at a coffee shop where he he flies off the handle at very innocuous disagreements with Jeff Bridges, and is immediately swearing and slamming the table. His fuse is almost non-existent.
Right.
If Donnie interrupts him even a little bit, it is screaming at Donnie to shut the F up. And this doesn't make him seem like a very sympathetic, kind character, and he's not kind to Donnie. He's not always kind to
the dude.
He's definitely not kind to the Big Lebowski when he meets the Big Lebowski later in the film. But he does have a good heart, and his heart is in the right place. He just doesn't have any tools to...
he doesn't have any emotional intelligence.
No.
None.
No regulation skills at all. No, doesn't seem much self-awareness, But he, like you said, definitely has the best dialogue in this movie. His dialogue about John Turturro's character, where maybe you should talk about Jesus for a moment. He is such a interesting...
His introduction is iconic. You get the
Spanish cover.
The Spanish cover of Hotel California. Is it?
It's Hotel California.
Hotel California from the Eagles, who the dude absolutely loathes. Yeah. The dude loathes the Eagles, and
I had a really bad day, man. I hate the Eagles.
And it's in the bowling alley where we first meet the Jesus, and it says introduction, the slow motion introduction when the song is playing, and he holds the bowling ball up to his mouth and he's licking it, and it's very unsettling, very weird.
He's got very long fingernails.
He's decked out in this like purple jumpsuit.
All one piece jumpsuit.
With the Jesus. It's like he must work somewhere where that's like his uniform.
Or he had it custom made for a lot of money for bowling.
For bowling, because what's his partner's name? Liam? Me and Liam are going to F you up.
And Liam just looks like the most... maybe they found him in the bowling alley.
Right.
He doesn't seem like he was an actor.
No, really quick on Liam. The thing that makes me laugh every time in the credit sequence is when Liam bowls and he gets a strike and he goes like this. He celebrates to himself.
Weird little, yeah.
Yeah, he like dances, which is so great. But the Jesus is incredibly, kind of like Walter. Like you can almost see like in another world they'd be like very copacetic and friendly because they're so angry, like very intensely angry, and incredibly short fuse too, and incredibly competitive in the bowling world alongside Walter. And he's basically just talking smack to the team, saying like, we're going to destroy you guys in the semis. I hear you roll your way into the semis. And
Dios mío.
And then, me and Liam, we're going to F you up. And then eventually it's revealed like a very dark section of his introduction that he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
He had to go. It's such a random little sequence.
He did 9 months in Chino. Or 9 years in Chino.
Walter is kind of giving this really quick background.
Well, like the dude and Donnie are like, whoa, look at this guy. We have to play them soon. If we're gonna win this, we're gonna eventually have to play those guys.
Quintana.
And Walter is trying to like bring that guy down a peg by saying,
and he does.
He's like, oh, you don't gotta worry about him, man. 10-year-olds, dude. Just like, yeah, he might be good at bowling. Mm-hmm. That's who this guy really is. So don't be fooled by him. Don't be worried about it. It's kind of like this. Walter is just taking control of the situation when Jesus comes over and starts screaming, and Walter just looks at him like he's nothing.
He doesn't change. He doesn't react. The dude reacts. The dude is like,
Jesus.
Man, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Because the Jesus says some incredible things to them.
Yeah.
And Walter, like you said, he doesn't miss a beat. He just like stone face.
Yep.
And
because there's nothing to respect about that guy, so he's not going to give him any.
And in such a small role with Turturro, like he's in 2 sequences.
2 scenes.
Only in 2. He's probably has under 10 minutes of screen time.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, but if he had to talk about characters that have stood the test of time alongside the dude and Walter, he's iconic. The imagery and the way that his costume is and his accent, his whole heightened performance. He got his own movie.
Yeah.
Turturro wrote and directed.
It's supposed to be awful.
It's supposed to be terrible. The Jesus Rolls.
Yep.
I think that's what it's called. And I think he asked for the Coens' blessing, and they're like, sure, whatever.
You can use the character, but we don't want any involvement in it,
Right.
pretty much.
Just tells you how they probably thought the project would end up going. But
And they were correct.
man, this is probably the most iconic John Turturro role, easily.
I don't know. I mean,
It's probably not my favorite performance of his.
no, I'd have to really go back and look at what he's made.
I mean, he's made a lot of good stuff with the Coens.
Yeah.
He's done a lot of great work with them. But just in terms of, if there was one role that, if you went to every single person that had seen Lebowski or knew something of John Turturro, I was like, what's the one role that defines Turturro? I think a lot of people would say Jesus, even though it's not his best. It's maybe not my favorite. It's the most, I mean, to put it simply, his most well-known role and my most seen role.
Which is unfortunate, really, because it's not even 5 minutes. It's not 10 minutes. It's not even 5 minutes.
You're right.
Maybe not even 3 minutes of screen time in this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's unfortunate, especially an actor of his caliber. I think he was incredible as the lawyer in The Night Before.
Oh, yes.
The Riz Ahmed crime.
That's his best role.
Yeah, he has a monologue, and I think the finale of that miniseries that is just obscene. I believe he was either nominated or did win an Emmy.
He might have won an Emmy for that.
If you haven't seen that, it's an incredible miniseries. You can get through it pretty quick. But yeah, he deserves more attention. He's a really talented actor. He was in the Transformers movies.
Yeah, that was one of
That's
his
probably
bigger...
something he's known for. But he's somebody who I could see him getting a really cool role in like 5 to 10 years, and like that being kind of like his career. I hope anyway, because he's just such a warm, fun guy, and he seems to be everything I've read and heard about him. He's really fun to work with, easy to work with, really genuinely nice man. I haven't seen what he's made lately.
He's really good in the Batman.
Oh, he was great.
As Falcone.
He was great in the Batman. That's gonna be a big little pop for him, I bet.
I was very happy to see him in that, and he's fantastic in that movie. I don't see everything, so I don't know what else he's been in, but that's probably his last biggest one, besides The Night Of. Like you said, he's like Goodman and like Buscemi. One of the best character actors working, and you love to see him pop up in anything.
Yep.
And
every time I see any of these guys, yeah.
I mean,
And the same went for Phil. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Right. Same goes for David Thewlis, who's in this movie. For a split second. John Polito is great in this film. As
he'll be coming up later, I think.
As
Delfino.
As Delfino. But we got a little off track. Your MVP.
Mine is Goodman. What's yours?
I will say mine is Bridges.
Okay.
Just again, it's probably a cheap choice, but as the lead of this film and as somebody who, like as you touched on, was breaking into this type of role, breaking into comedy, he has to do so much in this. The dude as a character is striving for Zen, but the dude really does have to run the gamut of emotion, and most of it is high highs of negative emotion, then low lows of the same negative emotion, I guess. But just everything that he has to, there's some physical comedy he has to do in terms of his interaction with the chief of police.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a physical altercation. There's some physical comedy. There's some, I just think that this is one of those roles that you can't give to anybody else.
No.
I do think the same can be said for Goodman. It's like 1A and 1B for me, because Goodman as Walter he's iconic. There's a reason, I've owned this hoodie since college, and I wore it until it shrank and I could barely wear it anymore. Walter and the dude are just, these are performances and these are characters that, like you said, stand the test of time. Every Halloween you're gonna see the dude in his sweater. I've never seen a Walter costume, so to speak. But these are characters that, when you see like the Letterboxd top 4, you see actors do like, oh, the Big Lebowski pops up a lot.
It does.
And it pops up because of these two, because they really are.
They're the 1A and 1B of the movie.
They're driving it.
Right.
Again, I would say that Bridges is driving it mainly just because his character is, of course,
the center of
the
all
main
of it.
character, and
Yeah.
but every choice that drives the plot is made by Walter, and it's such a synergistic little relationship, both on screen and you know behind this, in terms of like the inner workings of like screenwriting
Yeah.
and like tying things together that you might not put on the page. Again, these guys just feel lived in. They feel like they've known each other since high school.
Right.
You know, when they snuck out of class to get high or, you know, drink beers or whatever they
Go
were,
bowling.
go bowling, yeah. You know, Bridges also to me in this movie exudes a certain warmth that, you know, he's always at 9 or 10 out of 10 in terms of stress, but for the most part he does try to be nice.
Yeah.
He does try to be very and like that warm energy is very palpable to me. The dude is somebody who I could watch that guy do anything. Walter, because he doesn't grate on me. I'm not gonna say that, but he's not somebody you want to spend all day with.
No,
You know?
and neither does the dude. The
No.
dude's usually really annoyed with Walter and
Yeah.
does not want him involved at all.
Yes, the car made it home. You called me at home.
Right.
Leave me alone. Yeah, I'll be at practice.
Yep.
You know, it's that
He gets under dude's skin to
Yeah.
the point where like dude's like fine. He like relents. He's like okay,
whatever.
fine,
Again, it's such a 1A and 1B. It's such like a
they
you
have
know,
great chemistry.
it's like Eddie Brock in the symbiote suit. You
Yeah,
can't have one
yeah.
without the other. You know, the dude has to be with. I know I'm not. This isn't like the best case for MVP because this isn't the best or the most well-known Bridges movie. I don't think.
It's up there.
It might.
It might be.
It's either this or Tron, unfortunately, just because so many people liked Tron. When
True Grit was big. Like
Yeah.
like obviously he's had a marvelous career.
Crazy Heart too. That was his Oscar
That was
movie.
his Oscar movie. I don't know. Like, it's probably his most popular. Definitely his most popular. Like, I think that when Jeff Bridges dies, hopefully not for a long time, the first line of his obituary might include Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. Yeah.
You know, for an actor who's worked he started in like the 70s. Like, he's worked over 50 years in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And he's had loads of great performances. Like I said, he's like maybe like a top 5, top 10 actor all time for me. Like you said, he manages to be very grounded.
His balances a ton of tone in this. There's so many little things that he is just balancing as a performer.
He plays this detective character so perfectly in a way. It totally flips the detective archetype on its head.
Yeah.
You know, usually in detective stories, you get the detective going and talking and like finding out information from these unsavory
and they're very
characters.
straight-laced.
Very straight-laced.
You know, professional.
And everyone the dude encounters, including Walter, that he usually has along with him, they're these very outsized characters.
They're on the outside of society.
Every
normal
single one of them.
society.
And the dude, in retrospect, looks somewhat normal compared to everyone else that he's encountering, like the Big Lebowski, like Brant, like Maude, like Sam Elliott,
The Nihilists.
the Nihilist, like I said, Walter, Jesus, everyone like the dude, and
even his landlord is a very weird, outside, like strange character who
wants to involve the dude in his creative life, but also is like, dude, like rent's up, you need to pay rent.
It's already the 10th.
And I love those kinds of stories, like we mentioned with The Long Goodbye. Very similar, narrative where you get this. In that case, more of a buttoned-up detective type with the Elliot Gould character. But in this one, the dude is already a heightened character, but he's in this underbelly, seedy Los Angeles that includes all of these weirder or, more intense characters that he has to just react to.
Yeah.
And Bridges is never really thrown off of his center as the dude, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
And it gets more impressive every time I watch it.
Much like you said that, we don't know. I don't know who was nominated for Best Supporting or Best Leading Actor. This was a time where comedy wasn't respected at all by the Academy. I mean, A Fish Called...
I was just going to say, that's probably the one example.
And which is Kevin Kline is
unbelievably.
Unbelievable. It's a great
Yeah.
comedic performance, A Fish Called Wanda. You know, this is one of those movies that this feels like an egregious, not missed. It's just it was a
It's an
different
oversight.
time. It was an oversight. It was a different time. We're starting to see a little more comedic and even like horror movies start to get a little more, if they're good, you know.
Mhm.
But this was just a time where the Academy, you know, gun to their head, they're not nominating comedy performances. They're not
Unfortunately
nominating
not. Yeah.
directors for comedic directing, or you know, Deakins probably didn't get anything for this either,
mean,
or even any
no screenplay nomination for this movie? I don't understand how that's even
possible.
possible. I really don't.
Again, we'd have to look at what was
It's one of the
put
best
out that year,
one of the best pop screenplays of all time.
all time.
Easily. Like going back in our conversation with Superbad, I'm like, this is maybe my favorite comedy, maybe the best comedy. After watching this, I'm like, there's nothing like this movie.
No,
And even the people who made Superbad, like Rogan, who wrote it, like paid a lot of homage to this movie.
everybody's in awe
interviews,
of
and
it.
they're in awe. They're like,
Yeah.
how does this even work? You know,
Which is crazy because the Coens aren't even that high on this movie.
no, they
You know,
they
yeah.
consider this kind of a lesser
One of their
work.
like lower tiers
And in my ranking, this at the most, I think this is my second favorite movie.
at the least. Yeah,
Second,
them,
I don't
yeah.
think it'll ever dip below 2. No Country for Old Men is one of my favorite movies of all time.
That's definitely their best
yes.
made film.
And Big Lebowski is also one of their best and one of my favorite.
It's like favorite versus best, right?
And the funny thing is, it really does say a lot to put Lebowski that high on the Coen brothers filmography, considering their body of work
Yeah.
and how prolific they were.
Yep.
And how, you know, they mix and match genres, and they're so unique. They have a great voice, a unique voice, and they're great comedic filmmakers. They have such an eye for that.
They are. Yep.
And like going back to the casting and going back to Bridges, I think didn't they write this for Bridges,
They
or
did.
had him in mind? And you know, Bridges in interviews had said like, "Did you guys like? I was like this back in like the '70s and when I was like a kid. Like I am the dude.
Yep.
Like you guys nailed it. I don't know how you did it, but
This is
me."
so things just line up. It's like this is who was supposed to play that, no matter what. You know, whether it's just God or like instinct or just like intuition for people when they're casting. It's like, nope, that guy. Who's that guy? You know? And Bridges, like you said, had an established run as a leading man at that point. And this must have just been such a fun change of pace for him as an actor. You know, there's a reason why the three of them, every like 10 years, where there's another anniversary, they'll film content together. They'll do like their dinner and they'll talk about it, or they'll go, you know, they'll all show up to Goodman's
Hollywood Walk
Star,
of Fame.
You know,
right?
they're just there, and you know, Bridges is wearing it. You know, these guys, you know, not only has it, they were already stars, but it catapulted them. But it also, like, you can tell they love each other.
They do.
You know, and when they run into each other at these events, it's like, you know, it's like a high school reunion or a college reunion. You know, it's just, you can tell that this is one of those roles that was super important for everybody who was involved in it. You know, from from Bridges all the way down to Polito, or like Amy Mann, who plays like the female
Yeah.
nihilist
Yeah.
who loses her toe. Amy Mann had like, and is still having an incredible musical career. She like has made some of the best indie folk of like the aughts and then beyond. And even she just popped like there are so many. Who is that person? I've seen that guy somewhere before. What movie did I see that person in? And then, you know, it just goes to show, again, their eye for talent, and their eye for talent that can work synergistically together.
Yes.
You know, these are professionals. You never hear of like an actor being ridiculous on a Coen Brothers set.
No.
Because real artists want to work with these guys.
Mhm.
And when they get onto a set with them, they're bringing their A game. You know, and you can see that from everybody here. It just is incredible. Well, we'll move on. Who's your sixth man of this movie? Again, the sixth man of the movie, just they're just the energy bolt. They're the jolt of it.
That is a really good. You go with yours first, and then I'll think about mine.
I think my sixth man is Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
I think with Lester Bangs just being such a, it would be great to actually give that to Phil just because he played Lester Bangs, right?
Mhm.
But my Lester Bangs is John Turturro.
Mhm.
We'll just spoil that, I guess, quick.
We could do both right now.
You know, John Turturro, like we touched on, 2 scenes, and in those 2 scenes, he is popping off. I think he has to be. He's my Lester Bangs for this. I won't go too much into that because we touched on Jesus. He's larger than life. You can just look up his scene on YouTube, and it's incredible. But I think Phil. I think every time Phil is in this movie, and yeah, he might be a 10-minute screen time type of guy in this movie, but for me it might just be because of how much I love him as a performer and as a person, but every time he's on screen in this, I can't help but smile. Even if other characters are giving dialogue, I'm looking at Phil's reaction to their dialogue. We touched on it right before. He has a reaction to something that the Big Lebowski says, and he just
it's all a lot of his performance is very facial, and he's like in this like tiny suit, and he feels
he's
so
very
constricted,
buttoned up and constricted, yeah.
And he's this like man-child servant.
He's stuttering over him. He's like,
yeah,
when he's talking, like, and these are the little Lebowski urban achievers. These are young kids without the necessary means for higher education.
It's like there's a script that he's supposed to stick to when explaining the Big Lebowski and his career.
From that scene, the interaction with Bunny, the scene in the limo, the scene where he first brings the dude to the Big Lebowski, and it's like the driving orchestral music.
When he opens the doors,
and
he's so dramatic. Yeah,
he's so sad. And he's in a couple more scenes in the back half of this. Don't go in there, dude. He's very upset. Again, every single time Philip Seymour Hoffman pops up on screen in The Big Lebowski, he just has my complete attention. I think every time you need a jolt of different comedic energy, because Brandt, his character is so different than every other character in this movie. Again, testament to how they write. Every character feels incredibly wholly unique, but Brandt especially is so buttoned up and straight-laced and type A. There's no other character in the movie that's like that. So his interactions, his reactions to Bunny, his reactions to Bunny's sexual offering to the dude, he's just incredible in this. He was incredible in everything. This will probably be a nice little theme throughout this show. Almost every time Phil is in a movie,
when he's not the lead,
he's going to win this. Like Along Came Polly. Not a movie that'll probably be covered on this channel, but like he was incredible, and he's definitely my sixth man. He's missed. He is very missed, and it's great to see Cooper continue to pop off. He was really great in The Long Walk. Who's your sixth man?
So my sixth man, thinking about it, is David Huddleston, who plays
sure,
the Big
dude.
Lebowski, the titular.
Great. Yeah.
Like you kind of pointing out with Brandt. I mean, he has really interesting chemistry with Brandt, and where Brandt is this like servant, like yes sir, okay sir,
and he speaks for him.
Yes.
Like he finishes his own sentences, and yeah.
And David Huddleston is a very like imposing character, just because of it's also his size. He's a bigger man, and he has a big performance to go along with it. And I think he like pops up here and then. And he was another, I think, kind of well-known character actor for his time, like in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And I think there were a lot of people that were up for this role. If I remembered right when looking at my small amount of research after watching it again, but they went with him, and he's very intimidating, but the dude sometimes kind of like whenever he interacts with them, he tries to be as nice as he can to the Big Lebowski.
You can tell he doesn't respect him.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing with the Big Lebowski is he talks a big game, and this has to do a lot with his character. What ends up happening to him with Walter at the end, he's in a wheelchair and he's immobilized, and he needs people to take care of him, but he's such like this big figure that hovers over the entire movie because he also like the dude has a lot to do with the inner workings and of the narrative
The
and how it all
machinations, yeah.
right. And he's just a really interesting performer who I haven't seen a lot of work from.
No,
And
I don't know if I've seen him. I'm sure I have, but not
he,
that I can think of.
he gets so angry with the dude, and he doesn't know how to. He kind of like Walter. He doesn't have a filter,
Yeah,
and he has like this huge ego and huge power in the movie, not only financially, just also because of his personality.
but remember, it's revealed that he doesn't really have any financial power.
That's true.
That it's all for show, and he's actually broke.
Mm-hmm.
That Maud reveals all this. That Father's main thing, his main thing is ego. He doesn't want anybody to know that. Which is a nice flipping of the coin of his character and of his performance a little bit. You only get it a little bit at the end, of course.
The only thing that really, well, he's also, this is another thing when you were talking about Phil. Phil does a really good job because he's a great actor playing a bad actor in the movie. Like you can see right through Brandt, like you are just trying to appease everything and appease everybody, especially appeasing the Big Lebowski. But then by the end, you figure out David Huddleston's Big Lebowski, like he was a good actor, but then by the end he's like this bad actor in the story because he's putting up this front of like, I'm gonna stonewall these guys and I'm gonna give them a piece of my mind. But then, unfortunately for that character, Walter, he makes the assumption like this dude can walk. Like he's faking.
If he's faking this,
he's faking being a cripple.
If he faked the whole money thing,
he's
got to be faking this too.
And Walter picks him up and drops him. And it's sad. Like Lebowski's crying, and then they're like, "Yeah, let's just get out of here." Like this is too sad. This is a sad scene. And then you finally see he's just kind of this like sad man who, like you said, it's funny you mentioned like the Maud line about like it's just all ego. He doesn't have much power.
Vanity and ego. Yep.
Like that makes a lot of sense with that character.
Yeah.
He wants to project this image of himself.
And he does.
And he does very well up until the very end.
Yep.
Where the dude and Walter kind of figured out this scheme that he was trying to pull with Bunny. And, he's eventually put in his place, quite literally.
Yeah. And to the dude's credit, he does not want Walter to do this. He doesn't want him to pick him up out of the chair. The dude is very clearly believes that this is a crippled man, and and right away he's like, "Help me put him in the chair."
Yeah.
He starts.
Let's right this wrong.
He stares at Walter like he's an idiot because he is. Help me get him up, because he's always dealing with Walter's stupidity.
And then Lester bangs. It has to go to the great John Polito. So John Polito, you have a little tiny background. He was also a big character actor for his day, and he showed up a lot in like the 90s and 2000s. A lot of Coen brothers work.
Yep.
Me and you, we have a. Do you know what I'm about to mention?
Yeah.
Me and you have
a much
deeper appreciation for the
much
man.
More critically
due
applauded,
to the Daniel Stern vehicle Bushwhacked.
Bushwhacked.
That has him as kind of playing a similar like he's the cop chasing. He's involved in this stupid movie with Daniel Stern, really bad comedy, but it has its moments and it's fun.
It's a great like campy movie for the kids if you have a couple of kids, around like 10, 11, 12.
For all the movie nerds out there, this movie Bushwhacked was going to be a spin-off movie for the Marv character from Home Alone.
And that's pretty much what it is. If you just put that in your head canon, really.
This was a star vehicle for for Daniel Stern, and John Polito is funny in it.
He's like one of the kids' parents, right?
No, he's a cop. He's a cop that...
Isn't he also Dana's dad?
No, different actor.
Okay.
The one who was in House Guest.
For some reason, I always thought Polito, one of the kids of his, was on the trip too. But no, he's just on man on a mission.
He's on the manhunt.
Yeah.
Oh my, we spent like a minute on Bushwhacked.
I know.
Okay. Anyways.
It's so great.
He's really good in it. And I read, so I've been rewatching a lot of the Coen movies. There's a podcast I like called Blank Check that goes through filmographies of directors, all their movies, and do the individual podcasts on them. And after I rewatched Miller's Crossing. I read a little bit about the movie, and that was an actor that the Coens, they had him audition, and he was wrong for some other role in that movie, but then he came back. He auditioned for Blood Simple, their first movie, and he didn't get it, and he came back for Miller's Crossing and had this kind of like physical transformation where he got a little bit bigger. He lost his hair, and he looked like this
A
incredible.
whole different.
It looked
yeah.
like a whole different man. And anyways, long story short, I really like his performance style. I think he's always turned up to 11.
Yeah.
He's always big in his performance, and he's really good in Lebowski as Delfino, whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of the man out of like a Raymond Chandler story, like a man from a different time.
Yeah.
Where he's
always wearing a suit and tie.
Yeah, and like I love the score when his character comes in because it's kind of like this like razzmatazz, like you feel like you're in a jazz
weird.
bar.
Yeah.
And the dude, well, also this character, he's like in this Volkswagen Beat Bug
And
car.
you see the bug throughout the car following people, but you don't know who's driving
who's behind it.
Yeah.
And then eventually he's at the dude's is it outside Maud's house or
He's
outside the
outside
dude's apartment?
in like that alleyway that the dude gets in that car accident in earlier in the film.
And the dude confronts him, and then as soon as you go to Polito, you're like, oh, this is a treat. Like
Yeah.
Polito gets out of the car, and he is another kind of like Sam Elliott figure where he sees the dude as this detective
That's like
in
a
this
larger
grand
than life.
story.
Yeah.
And the dude's like, he doesn't see himself like that. So he's like, what are you talking
He's helping
about?
my lady friend, man.
Yeah. And Polito plays this very bumbling, and he is very he knows what's happening. Like he sees the grand picture. He knows
He's figured it out.
he has figured it out, and he's been hired by Bunny Lebowski or Fawn Knutson back in Minnesota.
Yep.
Hired by the family to find Bunny.
And bring her home to the family farm.
And and the funny thing is you see this character following the dude and coming in and out of scenes just in his car, but then as soon as he pulls up and he wants to like work with the dude and he wants to be involved in the movie.
Yep.
And the dude's like, I don't need your help. Like I don't want to have to deal with you. I don't want to
Stay
deal with
away
another
from me and stay away from my lady friend, man.
I don't want to deal with another weirdo.
Yep.
And then he swiftly exits the movie.
Yep.
And it's a true one scene performance, and I think he's really funny.
He is.
And
he's one of those characters that you and I quote a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Like you, man.
Like you.
And we always do his little movement, and Delfino is a really fun little.
He's excitable. Like he's this little ball of energy.
You can tell he not only respects the dude, he's like, oh, the way you're just playing both sides, in bed with everybody. It's beautiful stuff. He thinks this is all purposeful, that the dude has plotted this all out as like a genius, where the dude has drank and smoked his way into most of these situations accidentally. So Polito has like this genuine appreciation and like kind of like weird love for whatever the dude is trying to do, and he wants to like compare notes, and he's like a fan.
He's a fan of the dude's work, but the dude doesn't know like why he is.
You would think he's about to like pull out a cocktail napkin and like
ask for an autograph.
Can I get your autograph?
Yeah.
But no, Polito, who's passed away now, isn't he?
I believe so.
I believe so as well. Great performer and great role in this flick. You want one more Delfino scene?
I could use a whole movie revolving
of
around
just
that character.
Delfino
Easily.
trying to, he has a look to him, and Polito always had a voice to him. He has a very unique voice, and his presence in this movie is great.
Easy Lester Bangs.
And again, my Lester Bangs is a 2-scene character, and yours is a
Mine's
1
a 1.
scene. It's like, it's just, how do you as a writer make those work? And again, it's just, for the third time, it's testament to like the way these two think, and the way they can plot, and the way just how creative they are. There's so many characters in so many movies that they pop up and you never think about them again. And that could have been Delfino, that could have been Sam Elliott, that could have been Brandt, and if you give those roles to lesser people, they become lesser roles.
Mhm.
I love David Cross. Tobias of Arrested Development is one of my favorite comedic performances, television film. He auditioned for Brand,
Oh, okay. I didn't know
and I
that.
think it came down to him and Phil.
Oh, wow.
David, you're not going to see this, but David, you would have done a great job, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you give that to David instead of Phil, if you give the Polito role to somebody else,
Whoever.
if you miscast anybody in this movie, it
A lot of it falls
feels like
apart.
a puzzle that would just exactly. If you pull one string or you pull one Jenga block, the rest of the movie would come tumbling down.
Or not feel as it just wouldn't be as good. A lot of these one scene performances make or break some aspects of the movie.
And, I'm not like I wasn't like the biggest Julianne Moore fan growing up, and this is a weird character. Maud is a very strange character, but she's great in this. And this was one of
Mhm.
those roles too that I'm a Julianne Moore fan for sure, and it's partly because of this.
Mhm.
The first time I watched this, I'm like, what? That character is weird. And the
Mhm.
second time, like, I like this. And every time I watch it, I'm like, that's a weird performance. I think a difficult performance.
Mhm.
She's doing this weird accent, and she's doing this weird fake laugh
Mhm.
with her and Thulis when they're on the phone with people.
Well, another
She's in the art world, so she's very esoteric
right.
and spiritual and sexual, and her art has been commended as being strongly vaginal. She's very strange,
Mhm.
but you still like her too because she's
Well,
looking out for
right.
the dude and she's using him, but she's also sending him to the doctor to make sure that he's okay
Right.
and doing all the she's and again she kind of has the plot of the movie clocked from the get-go. Oh, don't listen to my dad. She most certainly is not the victim in this. She knows from the get-go. Much like Walter. Walter has this intuition where he very rarely follows it in an appropriate way.
Right.
But the moment he hears this plot, she didn't kidnap herself. He says it. She kidnapped herself, dude,
Mhm.
from get go. And she's similar in that way in her intuition.
Right.
It's a womanly intuition versus like a weird PTSD soldier's intuition or whatever he does or doesn't have. But another aspect of this film is the music, both the score and the soundtrack.
Yep.
You get stuff from Bob Dylan, you get stuff from CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival,
The Eagles.
the Eagles,
A couple
of
of needle drops
course.
from the Eagles.
Yep. The first edition, which was Kenny Rogers band
Yep.
from the Just Dropped In musical sequence. You get the Rolling Stones cover throughout the end credits done by country legend Townes Van Sant. It's just filled with really, really great songs that really highlight some of the character choices and some of the plot choices. What's your favorite use of commercial? What's your favorite needle drop in this?
Going back to kind of the Sam Elliott intro, because his voiceover does
He's the first character you really meet.
bring us into the movie, bring us into this weird Los Angeles. The tumbling tumbleweeds. I don't know exactly the song name or the artist. But
It might be like a fair use song at that point. It seems like it could be very old, like too old.
Very from like the 50s
Yeah.
or something. And it is going back to what we were saying about Sam Elliott. It does feel like a song from a different era and a different time, and it's referencing this like 1800s Wild Wild West, but it is a very like peaceful introduction into the movie, and it's very light on its feet, and it's a fun song, but it does match like the grovelly voice of a Sam Elliott bringing us into the dude's world.
Yep.
And
somebody like you said from a world that this like you would think that Sam Elliott like stepped out of the DeLorean.
totally
Like the DeLorean is off screen and he's playing that through the DeLorean speakers, and then
yeah.
the tumbleweed tumbles across, and
Right.
we're in this world now.
Mhm.
Because again, he doesn't feel like that would be a cool spinoff, right? Doc Brown
Yeah.
and the
Doc, Marty,
narrator.
and the narrator.
Yeah.
What's yours?
For me, it was a really hard choice between Bob Dylan's "The Man in Me," which plays during that
It's
the bowling
the
sequence.
The credit sequence. Yeah.
When you see everybody in this alley and all of their rituals and their lifestyles. But I went with "Looking Out My Back Door" by Creedence Clearwater Revival. It comes at a point in the film where the dude really needs a win. His car has been stolen, and he finds what's left of his car. He already had the worst car probably in L.A. County, and then kids take it for a joyride. They leave it against an abutment, and a homeless vagrant uses it as a bathroom before police officers find it and put it
and tow it.
Yeah. And yeah, the dude is, he's really upset about the condition of his car, and he tries to get this cop to. He's like, "Is there any people working on it, man?" And the cop gives a really.
And he leads.
Yeah,
that's what the cop responds to.
They got us working in shifts, And then it cuts to the dude lighting up a J in this decrepit car, what's left of his car, and in tune to the beat, he beats on the roof of his car, and he's so happy. It's such like the celebration of him having this car. It's like the only thing that he has other than his apartment.
He's happy.
He's very happy. It's a very funny moment. It's also a Polito moment because Delfino is the cause of
tailing
this.
Him.
Delfino is tailing him as he. He's also drinking a beer. He's also drinking and driving.
Right.
Because he has to put out the joint with the beer.
Yeah.
So he's smoking this joint, listening to CCR. He's celebrating. He gets paranoid because he sees Delfino, and then he drops this burning thing into his crotch. Screams like a girl. Pours beer onto himself and then crashes into a garbage receptacle.
Yep.
While the song is still playing. So you have him like leaning over his car, which is now even worse condition. Smoke is and just CCR is still blaring.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I hear that song, I think of one Mom, because Mom and I have always loved that song.
Yeah.
But I always think of
the beating on the car
every time.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've written that into scenes just as like homages, It's just that's definitely my favorite needle drop. But again, this has a ton of great music from the 70s, from different genres, from like psychedelic rock from the first edition to Bob Dylan to country from Townes Van Sant. And there are the Eagles, of course. I don't know what Eagles song is playing in the cab. It's not Hotel California.
Peaceful, Easy Feeling? Yeah, which is a great song.
It's a great like easygoing song, but the dude hates the Eagles and he gets kicked out of the cab. But yeah, that would definitely be my needle drop. I love CCR. I was just listening to Cosmo's Factory earlier before you came over, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. And I think this is, other than the use of Up Around the Bend and Remember the Titans, these are like the two movie needle drops that I think of for CCR. What is your favorite scene in The Big Lebowski?
The one that makes me laugh the most is Walter and the dude finding Larry and going in. So they find that after the car, it pairs nicely with your needle drop.
Yeah, for sure.
It kind of flows. The car, they find homework in the car from the kids who stole it. And it's Larry's homework. And so they're making this plan when the dude, Donnie, and Walter are looking at the dude's landlord's one-man show in the theater, and they're hatching this plan to go interrogate Larry and get information out of him so that they can find the briefcase of money. And so Walter kind of changes his appearance and looks pretty, like he has a suit on, suit and tie, and he goes up with the dude to the door, and oh my gosh, his delivery of this, "I'm Walter Sobchak, and this is my associate, Jeffrey Lebowski."
He has like this little corny smile on his face.
Oh, and the look on his face, and then the reverse shot of the lady answering the door, and then back to him is just so funny. And before that, the Walter finds out that Larry's dad was one of the screenwriters in the TV show The Western Branded, which I guess was really big for Walter, and which is a real show, by the way.
It's big for the dude too. He sings the Branded theme song when he's drunk in the back of the cop car. The dude and Walter are very clearly have watched this show together, and they know
the influences.
They know the influence, and they know that his dad wrote like bulk of the series, dude.
Which is really impressive to those two. Well, I mean, it's funny in another little weird, like, Los Angeles way, you're gonna find those people out of nowhere. And that's funny that they use like the screenwriter off of Branded, and that's like somehow that really means something to Walter and
Yep.
the dude. And then they come in and interrogate Larry, and they bag, like it's almost like a police bag of like evidence. They hold it up, and the Walter is the more calm one, kind of in that scene when he's not getting flustered, but the dude is getting increasingly mad, like because
Yeah,
the
he
kid
threatens
is
him.
genuinely stonewalling them, not saying a word and not changing his face or reacting to anything. And the dialogue in that sequence is really good. When Walter eventually goes, "You're killing your father, Larry," because when they enter the house, the man is in an iron lung,
Yep.
and he's like barely holding on.
Yeah.
And Walter,
He has health problems.
yeah, Walter goes, "Does he still
write?"
write?" And the woman goes, "Oh no, he has health problems." And okay.
No.
And then
Good
one of the
day to
best,
you, sir.
I was just gonna, maybe my favorite line in the whole movie when he yells, "And a good day to you, sir." And for like, it's such a great little throwaway line. And I Walter, that's my favorite Walter sequence.
He gets emotional.
He gets emotional. The show really meant a lot to me, and the whole interrogation, and then Walter eventually is it like a crowbar, and he thinks
It's either a
that
crowbar or a
like a
golf club. It's a golf
I think
club.
it's a golf club, and he beats the crap out of this car.
This really nice sports car
That he thinks Larry bought with all the money. I don't know where he thought that. I mean, obviously you're gonna look at a nice car like that and think, how did they get it in this neighborhood?
Yeah.
But then there's a misunderstanding, and then a neighbor comes out and destroys whatever's left of the dude's car.
Which is nothing. There's barely any. He just gets rid of the windows really and the lights.
And I don't know, just every single performance in that sequence, and especially John Goodman as Walter, just hits my funny bone. And I think that's a scene I go back to a lot.
It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the more famous, maybe the most famous scene in the movie in terms of like the cultural conversation, because of when this movie debuted on network television, there was a real conversation of how they were going to address this scene because of how Walter is.
This is what happens, Larry. This is what happens when you blank.
Yeah,
like it's a very explicit line.
Very explicit statement, and how they dubbed it was a very funny thing, and that became a cultural conversation that kind of brought more attention to the movie and more attention to that scene in particular. This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. It became the title of a Phoebe Bridgers record. It's just like this baked in Hollywood joke, and that scene is it's kind of like right in the middle of the movie too.
It is.
It's kind of like a hinge point, both thematically and just structurally for the movie. And like you said, it's Goodman at his best and his most unhinged and his most. I mean, he runs the gamut from the moment he enters that house to the cutaway of them eating In-N-Out Burger, as they leave that scene, so to speak. He goes from almost crying in tears about meeting his hero to screaming at this kid to
berating this kid.
I mean, he's doing a little bit of everything, and it's definitely one of the more memorable, strong sequences. For me, we touched on it. There's this whole conversation with the three of them right before Jesus comes over for the first time, where there's just again the Lennon dialogue is in that sequence with the Lennon John Lennon thing.
Is that when the dog is introduced?
Yes. Yep.
Or is that with Smokey? I forget kind of like this sequencing, because all the bowling scenes kind of feel of a piece and they feel very linear.
It's the dog with Jesus coming over.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Because with Smokey, they have to go to the car and leave right after that because the cops are being called. Put the piece away, man. But yeah, everything with the Pomeranian. Why can't you just board it? His hair will fall out. You get to see Goodman loves animals. I mean, Walter loves animals. But just that is like a perfect encapsulation of the three of theirs friendship. I think it's some of the funniest writing and then again it leads into the Jesus, and everything with the Jesus in that 2 to 3 minute sequence was great. Uh, you I love the little look that Jesus gives Donnie.
Yeah.
He does like the 2 finger point, and he does it at Donnie, and then it
Mhm.
cuts to Donnie like
Donnie's kind of like, what?
just dumbfounded that he would even target him.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just really anytime that the three of them are in the bowling alley and they're just like chopping it up, and it's usually you, at the end of the movie it's Walter talking about the man in the black pajamas, you
Mhm.
know, hand, when Charlie's eye to eye, that's hand to hand combat, dude. Man in the black pajamas, dude. That's real combat. Just
Mhm.
everything with them in the bowling alley, the three of them. But yeah, my favorite sequence is probably the first Jesus sequence, and then everything that leads up to that with the Pomeranian, with them talking. Even with Liam. I
Mhm.
love Liam in this movie. No, I don't think he has one line.
He doesn't have a single line.
He just like he's in the background backing. That's my favorite. Either that or honestly the musical sequence.
That's one of mine too. After
That
rewatching
has
it
to be
again,
up there.
yep.
The just dropped in to see what condition my
Bridges
condition
is
is in.
fantastic in that
It's a
sequence.
very funny, very weird. He's doing a lot of facial acting,
A lot of
and
dancing.
a lot of dancing.
Yep.
It really brings you in. It's a much needed change of pace for the movie, and a much
Yes.
needed tonal shift. That would be one of my
That's definitely one of
backups,
mine.
so to speak.
Yeah.
I think everything with Donnie's funeral and everything at the mortuary has to be up there.
Just because we're bereaved doesn't make
We're
us saps.
Please, sir, lower your voice. This is one of those movies that sometimes one of my favorite scenes is just Brant walking him through all of the little plaques on the Brant's character introduction.
Yep.
I could make a case for the Big Lebowski's first introduction scene. Get a job, sir. I mean, I really enjoy the Polito scene.
Yes.
There's
one of mine
so
too.
many that just I would have to really I will go with the first Jesus.
It's really hard to
scene,
pick one.
but it's incredible. This movie.
It speaks to how, usually on a movie, you're going to have some fat that you could trim. If you're really nitpicking, you could go and say like, let me take that or that out. But in a weird way, this movie feeling sort of unimportant in its narrative, and it's not totally structured, even though it is structured. That's kind of very complimentary to the Coens. Like,
Yeah.
it feels unstructured, but it is incredibly structured in their script, to where, every single scene, it's a chain of reaction, and that's why the movie flows together so well. And you kind of do need every little sequence, even though there are some throwaway lines and gags, and there are these little conversations that aren't totally meaningful to the narrative and to the direction where the dude is going and Walter is going. But they feel very intentional.
Yeah.
And like we said at the very beginning of this conversation, the script is locked tight and it didn't change. No ad libs, no improvisation. And the Coens knew exactly what they were doing in every single scene in a movie where the narrative is so formless.
Yep. It again, you would think it was like improvised at times. It has like a jazzy feel to it. And that's again, yeah, credit to them, but just the world that these characters live in. It feels like they could all just be on like an inner tube going down a lazy river, and they're just reacting to things they have no control of. None of our main characters in this movie feel like they have the ability to like hold the reins of their own life.
No.
It's very much, whether it's intentional or not, go with the flow. Just get on an inner tube and go down the lazy river of life and see what we can see. And the times where the dude is usually taken out of that lazy river of life is when you see him at his most heightened, so to speak. But yeah, as a bookend to this, this is classic. It just is. This is
Bona fide classic.
one of those comedies that continues to grow in appreciation. It continues to grow in its influence. We just saw that with One Battle After
Yeah.
Another, which was clearly taking a lot from that and doing it meaningfully. This is one of those movies that is in the cultural zeitgeist, not just as a movie, but as like a real like movement. Again, this has like a weird ties to Taoism, and there's dudism churches, there's over 220 something thousand dudist priests. Yeah, clearly not a very realistic or meaningful religion, but
Right.
it's something that just goes to show how important this movie is to people. And I don't know how much philosophical truth you could take from it, but books have been written and
Hmm.
dissertations have been written about the dude's lifestyle and how, that easygoing approach, while maybe not fully adopted, you could adopt certain principles of the dude's lifestyle. And again, like we said, that's what Sam Elliott kind of appreciates about him. Right away, he says the dude is most assuredly a lazy man, quite possibly the laziest man in Los Angeles
Yep.
County, which would put him in the running for one of the most laziest men in the world. But even in spite of that laziness, there's enough good and enough genuine humanity and depth to warrant this God character seeing something in him.
Yes.
Again, Sam Elliott is great, and the last scene of this movie is a bookend between those two characters. The last line of the movie is "the dude abides," which became, this catchphrase, of course. But you would think that having stuck around, it's not said any other time in the movie really. I can't abide by this is said, but like the dude abides is on T-shirts, it's on bumper stickers.
It's the most iconic line from the movie.
And it's strange to have that be the last line of the movie, but it really works as a little philosophical send-off between these two characters. And again, as Dead Flowers, the cover of Dead Flowers by Townes Van Sant plays over the credits, you get one more shot of the bowling alley as it all goes to black. And again, just shout out to Roger Deakins. That guy is just the best. He should have multiple Oscars. And this is it's so cool to see a comedy shot this well. Superbad is also a comedy shot. You just don't see a whole lot of those.
No.
And I would imagine that's part of what the Superbad guys took from this. Like, you can have a funny movie with something to say that also looks really good.
Yep.
And is colored really well, especially the new 4K restoration. But yeah, I love The Big Lebowski. It's in my top 10. I had it at 4 on Letterboxd up until I rewatched. Oh my gosh, It's a Wonderful Life. And then that last time I watched It's a Wonderful Life, that blew me away. But The Big Lebowski it's one of my 10 favorites of all time. It really is. I think it's the best comedy ever made. And if not, again, I'll say it. I think if it's not the best, it's the smartest.
Yep. Yeah, I would say one. I think the Coens are slowly becoming. I don't know. Their peak, their career peak, is just so impressive, and this sits right on top of their peak. And I'm so excited to either rewatch or watch some of their work I hadn't seen before. And there's always discovery in Coen Brothers movies, and they're just masterful screenwriters. And this is one of the best pop screenplays of all time. It is probably the smartest comedy. Like you said, there's something about it that kind of hovers over its peers. And I think that a lot of movies, like we said before, look up to The Big Lebowski and can only aspire to get like 75% of what it is.
Yep.
There's only so much you can do in chasing greatness. And this is a truly great movie.
Yep.
And it's one of my favorite movies of all time, sitting right next to another Coen Brothers movie, No Country for Old Men. Like, those two are fantastic, and I'm sure we'll cover No Country for Old Men at some point. That's another completely masterful movie.
Really quickly, just like the fact that they're capable of both of those is just
Exactly.
there are great filmmakers that can't do that.
No.
Like some of my favorite filmmakers, they stay in the same tone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's fine. And I love the tone they stay in for the most part.
Hmm.
The fact that the Coens can do both, like can adapt both like a like a Carver and like a Car they try to make their own like Carver story
And a Cormac
and
McCarthy,
then really adapt
a
a
dark.
dark, deep Cormac McCarthy. I mean, they're infinitely talented and they have their pulse on both drama and comedy in such a way that like it's like you would think they just wake up and like, oh, which button do I want to push today? You know,
Mhm.
they're the best. And yeah, again, I think No Country for Old Men is their best movie. This is just my favorite one.
Yeah.
You know,
Which I completely.
uh,
Yeah.
because No Country is not something you want to like put
Well, I'm
on
gonna
every
sit
week.
and watch No Country,
Ah,
even though I do love that movie.
it is, and I do that. I bought the 4K when that came out immediately, but like it's not one of those movies. This is a fun, not exactly light movie because there's a lot of language and
Hmm.
you know, but this is one of those movies that I can't wait to continue to grow in love with and go to more screenings of. It would be fun to find like an actual Lebowski fest to go to.
Hmm.
Some places do them, some don't. But yeah, if you haven't seen The Big Lebowski, good lord, I don't know what you're doing. Uh, Matt and Wendy, if you made it this far in this, maybe you guys shouldn't. This is rated R, a lot of language, but it's a good movie. Just maybe shoot me a call next time. Don't think all of my recommendations are gonna be for you guys, but this is definitely a little more palatable than One Battle After Another.
Yep.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Love you guys. Anything else you want to say?
No, all's been said.
Yeah, it's a great movie. It's fun. It's smart, eh, and has some of the best performances by some of the most
Mhm.
unique performers you'll ever see. And again, Goodman and Bridges are at they're at to me this is both of their peak. You know,
Mhm.
it's just the movie that grows on you and a movie that you can show a lot of people in your life and you can have a lot of fun with as long as you don't take it too seriously because this movie doesn't take itself
No,
seriously.
no, not at all.
But yeah, thanks for tuning in. And next will be Memento with Nick Asta. So that'll be a fun one. And Nick and Nathan and I will also do one
We
together.
gotta do one soon.
We'll do a 3-man pod, which will be a little hectic, but it'll be fun. But thank you all for the continued support. It's been really fun to continue to learn and grow and have these conversations. And you know, clearly movies are super important to Nathan and I, so we're going to continue to do it. But yeah, thank you everybody, and have a good one.